Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I have a special slow stitching project to get you ready for the new year, which is rapidly approaching. So 2025, can you believe it? And so it's a slow stitching upcycle project that uses a old pillowcase, some blanket or felt, or indeed an old hand towel or an old tea towel, which is the inner part that's going to give our fabric folder its structure, as well as a free downloadable printable of this beautiful botanical calendar. I can't take credit for it. It's from a wonderful site called On Sutton Place that has free printables and downloadables, and it's the 2025 floral calendar, which I will link you to. And it has this beautiful illustration, this beautiful cover page, lovely quote, an overall 2025 calendar, and then it has each of the months on a page. Lovely, lovely designs. It then has a weekly planner. It also has other things like a meal planner, a gratitude, health pages, etc. But I thought the main ones I was going to use were the ones that I've printed out and stuck into this book, which was just an old sketchbook, I think it was. I've had it floating around for the longest time, and so I thought, oh, good, I can use that. And then I've just stuck these in with some Yoo-hoo glue. That's probably why you can see some slight bumpiness, but I'm not worried about that. This is going to be a working creative book. But yeah, just such a lovely printable. And then I use the colours from that as the inspiration for picking out a pillowcase, an old pillowcase. I got a whole batch recently from a lovely lady, I think in Central Australia is where she's located, and she was clearing out her stash of vintage pillowcases, and so I got just a mixed bag of goodies, as well as some that were some cutter ones as well. But I just thought the design on this is really beautiful against the designs in this particular calendar. And so for the calendar, I just printed that out on A4 paper on my printer, and then, as I say, I stuck them into the book. And then at the back I've got lots of spare pages to put ideas of things, because I think this will be my my planning and ideas calendar. I was also lucky enough to get a beautiful little calendar from my partner's mum for Christmas, or a little like journal book. And so I'm thinking I'll make another fabric cover for it using another pillowcase. So stay tuned in another video for that. If there seems to be interest in it, because I know people have calendars of different sizes, but if you have something A4, this sort of layout could work very well. And I also just created this little page where I just folded a second sheet and just made a little place where I can pop these extra weekly planner sections in. And so then my pillowcase, you can see part of it there, and I've got it folded over at the top and at the bottom. And then let me just pull it over. It's a bit hard getting it all in frame, but basically the plan is that the book will just slide in and sit, oops, something's under it, the scissors are underneath it, will sit about there, and then when it closes up, fold it over, and then I'm planning to have probably some Suffolk puffs, probably in different colours, because I quite like when they are kind of all different colours, with these little shank buttons. I may well cover these. I sometimes do these covered with like some doily, so we may well do that. And then I'll probably use some of this elastic. I've got a massive roll of it, which I got from the Reverse Art Truck, just to create some little loops that can loop over the button. So that will be the closures on it. But you could really use any sort of button. You could even just have a tie, or a couple of ties if you felt you needed them. So that will be how it closes up. And then in terms of the internal construction, what I've done is I've folded, well, first of all, I have, let me get the, oops, that page just came off. Obviously, the plastic doesn't like to hold the page, but that's okay. I've folded this end over. So this is the end that would normally be the opening where you put the pillow in. So I folded that over because that is the area where I will be able to put my book in like that. And so that will just sort of hold it, and I'll probably end up putting an extra stitch top and bottom just to hold that well when it's sitting in there. So that's that bit, and I've just sort of let it have a slight offsetness, which it naturally gets. I've also marked along where the fold is, because when we come to do some kantha stitching, I don't need to do the stitching, and I don't want to do the stitching to close up this particular area. And then at the top and the bottom, I've then folded the edge over to just kind of keep the book from moving around if I am carrying it somewhere. Let's just do this again. So let's say I've got the book, I've folded it up, I'm carrying it somewhere, and I've got those bits closed. It's just going to sort of stop it from falling out by having these bits top and bottom. So, and what I also did, now let me take my little clippies off, because we don't need them for the first step anyway. I just wanted to kind of show you the full construction so you have an idea of where we're heading. And I don't think this would be what I sort of put in beginner slow stitching. It's not going to be particularly tricksy or anything. And so then, as I mentioned, I've lined it with a piece of blanket, but you could use, I was actually originally contemplating just using a old hand towel, but I particularly like stitching into blanket, so that's why I've gone with blanket. You could use some felt. You could just use anything that's got a bit of structure, a bit of substance. And so what I did was cut out a piece of blanket of about the size that I could just lay it flat down within the seams of the pillow, and just most of the way up to here, and probably not quite the entire way up to the very edge up there. And then what I did was went around and just did some overcast stitches, just catching the inside of the seam. So this is the pillowcase turned inside out, laid my my wool flat down, and then just stitched around. And I haven't actually stitched this end because I've done that edge, and that edge, and that's enough to hold it in place. And so I've just got the wool sitting at this end. It goes up to and inside this little fold over piece. So that's what you'll want to do first of all, to just attach in your lining. And then you'll want to just make sure it's sitting all nicely for you. Just make sure your corners sort of come out. There we go. And then you'll also want to work out, depending on the size, but in my case I want it to fold over pretty much like that. And so that's why I have put a line using my friction marker just along here. And so then the next thing we're going to do is, I'll just get that to sit down a little bit. It probably doesn't really matter because we're not going to go all the way up to there, but I do want to probably just make sure I catch the lower section. It's probably not totally, my line's probably not 100% straight, but I think that will be okay. I'll just sort of go a tiny bit straighter when I'm doing my kantha stitching. So yeah, that's sort of the point where I don't want to go beyond that. So I might bring you down now so that I can see what you can see. And I'll just bring you like that, I think. And what we're going to now do is do some kantha stitching, which is basically just a straight form of stitching. And I'm going to actually use some of this very old and not particularly good washi tape. It's in a very glitteriness to help me get some relatively straight lines when I'm doing my kantha stitching. Now you don't have to worry, kantha stitching doesn't have to be even. This is just a technique that I have seen done, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll give that a go. And I am just using some of this old crochet, don't even know what brand it is, fast color white, to do my stitching. So I'm just going to put a knot in the end And I'll probably just sort of, it doesn't really matter. I could, oh yeah, I can probably, if you want to hide the knot inside, you can take your needle, because you've actually got a nice pouch here. You can take your needle. I could have started at the other end, but I want to start at this end for some reason. So I'm just taking my needle inside and I'll just pop it out at this end in approximately the right spot. Probably not in exactly the right spot because I can't seem to navigate my way there. There we go. That'll be close enough. So we'll just hide the end inside. Very disco tape. And then I'll just pop myself up where I want to be. And so this probably won't be that exciting of a bit of the process because we really are just going to do a whole lot of kantha stitching. I might even get a longer needle so that I can just sort of stack my stitches basically. Let me grab and see what longer needle I've got. I've got this one. So it's been a super hot day here in Melbourne, Australia. We've had 39 degrees, I think. And so with these stitches, I'm going through front and back. Although it looks like maybe there I missed one on the front, but that's okay. As I say, it's not about perfection when we're doing kantha stitching. I just know I go very crooked if I don't have some sort of guide. So this tape will give me a bit of a guide, but I'm sure I'll still go a bit floopy. As you can see, even there I've jumped up a tiny bit with my stitches, but it's about kind of the massing of the stitches, so that's the good thing about kantha stitching. And so this is a great stitch to learn if you're starting out with slow stitching. Kantha stitching just is a great way to get your different layers of fabric to really kind of combine together, and it does give that beautiful sort of quilted look. And you can go as big or as small as you want. I'm going to go decent size because I don't want to, I mean, I probably won't make you watch the whole process anyway of doing the kantha stitching, but I thought I'd start this off, whether I put this video out in parts or sort of do it all in one video, we will work it out. It's always a bit emergent when I'm making a video. I kind of work things out as I go. So yeah, I hope you're doing well, and I hope if you were celebrating yesterday that you had a lovely day. And also sending out thoughts to those that sometimes this time of year isn't a time of sort of joy for everyone. So if that's you, sending you lots of love too. And I have seen some people put some little markings on their needles so that if they want to get really even stitches, you can do that. And then just sort of, yeah, basically you'd have the marking and that's as far as you'd take your needle through. But I'm not going to worry about that. Just go up to there. And so I'll show you what the other side looks like. So you can see it's just got its row of stitching along there. Take that, and then I can grab my same bit of tape. We're not going to waste new tape every time. We'll use this until it loses its stickiness, and then we're just going to lay that along here, lay it-ish where the stitches are, and then I can just go on the inside. So I'm not going through to the other side when I do this stitch, not that it really matters because it's going to be on a corner anyway. And then I'm going to work my way back. I just moved my chair in a smidgeroo. I feel like I'm sitting a bit strangely out. But yeah, this is called stacking when you kind of go a few stitches at the one time. And again, you wouldn't have to do kantha, it's just this is going to hold our layers, our 3 layers together and make them sort of cohesive. You could do a whole lot of French knots, for example, but then you would have strange sort of, with this you get a similar design on front and back, so I guess you just need to think about it. But once you've got the kantha, you can then add other decorative stitching, and I'll probably add some other embellishments to it. I thought I'd just work through the construction with you first. The great thing is once you've got something like the wool blanket in the centre, you can easily stitch him just to one side without going through to the other side. Whereas obviously when I'm doing the kantha stitching, I do want my stitches front and back. So what I might do in this video is we'll keep doing kantha for a few more rows, and then I might go away and do the rest of the kantha off camera, and then I might come back in a second video, because that way if you're watching this and you want to gather some supplies and go and sort of get a start on it, you could do that, and then we can come back and do some of the decorating and do the closures. I can show you how I make my covered buttons. I probably want to use some of my Nana's special green rickrack, so yeah, there'll be more we can do in a second video. So I think that's the plan. But if you want to quickly run away, put the video on pause now. You can even stitch along with me. So it's amazing how much you do use thread-wise when you are doing kantha stitching. So I guess, yeah, it's the entire length that you are essentially running your thread. So what we'll do, actually I might need my other needle that's a bit shorter, might be easier just to get this to sort of tie off here. So I'll just put a little knot in here, and then I'll secrete my needle into the fabric and put the tail back into the fabric. Pull it a little bit tighter and the tail will spring back in. Get rid of that, keep that needle out. And then I will thread up again. I'm just going to get rid of my clips so that they don't get caught up. Get some more thread, get plenty of thread, Christine. And we'll go again. And I think I'll start at this end, because then I won't have to do like I did the first time and try and get my needle to go all the way through. Oops, just made I won't slide my knot down, I'll put a knot in at the other end because it just tried to get a tangle, which we don't want. Okay, and so this was where I did want to make sure that I'm catching this lower layer. Probably okay. I can always stitch that down afterwards actually. I was just thinking whether I needed to catch the bit in the fold, but I think it's okay. I'll be able to sort that out. Oops, that bit looks like it's slipped a little bit. Let's just put that there. Okay. Pop through here. Just going to shake and make sure it is sitting flat on the other side. Yes. Hopefully you probably can't quite see that stitch. As I say, it's a bit tricky having something so big. And my thread's so long. Try and get back into the rhythm of stacking my stitches. probably gone way too long on my thread, but never mind. So Travis has enjoyed his little pool today. Well, he's actually a big pool, 1.6 metre, but it's just a shallow sort of mobile pool. But that's been a good Christmas present for him, because on a hot day here we can't really take him walking around, busy just being a black Labrador, but really any dogs, when it gets sort of above 25, it can be a bit tough on them on the pavements or in the sun. So the pool means he can just go out and have a splash around with his floaty football. And then otherwise he just lays in front of the aircon. We put on the aircon mainly for him, although obviously today we would have had it on for ourselves as well when it's that hot. 38 or 39 degrees is well past my normal summer tolerance levels. Even in the craft room now, I've had the aircon on all day, just on low, but this is the side of the house that gets the afternoon sun, and I can just feel the warmth coming even just from the walls. I did finally research online, because I'd often heard it said that it's better to put on aircon earlier in the day and then just have it sort of rather than having it trying to cool when it gets really hot. And that is apparently the most efficient way, and it also puts the least wear and tear on your air conditioning. So that was good to know. But I know in lots of places, I know in the UK it's pretty rare to have air conditioning, isn't it? We found that in Europe as well. We were so surprised. And things we take for granted, like having fly wire or sort of mosquito wire on the windows. It's interesting when you travel and you challenge your assumptions, which is good. Always good to do that. So I'll do another row with you, and then I will go away and I'll come back in another video to do the finishing off of the pouch, but hopefully this gives you enough to make a start. Just want to get enough of these rows done so that you can kind of see how using the washi tape. If you didn't have washi tape, regular sticky tape would work, or you could use a friction marker which does erase with heat, although I wouldn't want to probably draw lines right across all my piece. So then I'm going to just pop into the fabric and pop up out here. And so that's how it's looking on the front, and you can see that it's just starting to get that lovely like quilted sort of effect. That's what I'd say. Okay, and then we'll just start the process again. Oops. My tail has got caught in which one's my tail piece? Not that one, I don't think. Nope, that one. So if you're looking for the free printable from on Sutton Place, I'll include a link below this video. And as I say, if you don't have an old blanket like this Cub Scout blanket, you could use a hand towel. I found that was a pretty good size. Or you could use an old tea towel. I think it's that time of year, isn't it, when we might go through our cupboards and sort of clean out anything that's looking a bit scruffy. And perfect thing to use as a lining. And it's always lovely with those old quilts when you find all the interesting things that they've been sort of padded out with, or had added to them to add warmth or layers. So I think it adds a lovely little bit of sort of archaeology history into our stitching when we use old household items as padding or layers. Or indeed as part of, sometimes as the features, using a pillowcase, keeping it whole kind of keeps that history of the pillowcase, but then transforms it into something useful. The other pillowcase that I'm planning to use for my smaller little diary sort of calendar, that's particularly faded, so that's obviously, and it looks very sort of 60s, 70s in design, so that's probably had a very, very long life, maybe 80, oh no, not 80, 60 years old, probably 60, 70 years old. Yes, that would be it. Probably 65 years old, maybe. Wow. And the label on this one, I found it when I was stitching inside. It's almost fully faded. All I can see is it says all cotton, but I've left that on just because that is again a bit of the history with it. So I will keep working my way all the way up, but as you can see, it's starting to give a really lovely effect. You could always go back and then do stitches in between. You can also do ones in different directions if you want to. So and don't worry if you get any bodgy. As you can see, I have my share of bodgy stitches in there, and it's going to be a-okay, so don't get stressed about it. And again, this is just an idea. You don't have to. You can do it totally freehand if that's how you'd like to do it. There are no stitching police on this channel. So I'll go away. I'll keep doing this. This will be a nice little bit of stitching to do this evening while I watch some of my fellow YouTubers. And I'll be back in the next video to put it all together. And look below if you want to get the printable, because you can get that all ready as well, and just pick out a book. You could also use a plastic folder if you had one of those. You don't have to use a sketchbook like I did. You'll just be able to adapt this to whatever size you have. If you had extra room, you could even create yourself like a little extra pocket down this side. Lots of options for how you do it. This is just a bit of a starting idea and something you can copy if that's what you would like to do. So I'll see you back in the next video. Thanks everyone.